Hello, this is Max. This is a strange story about a couple who, through various procedures, created ideal girls. You can subscribe to the channel after watching. It helps us a lot in realizing the content. In a disturbing scene, a man readies an instrument while a wounded blind girl remains restrained nearby. Despite her pleas for forgiveness and promises to improve, the man silences her with duct tape and inflicts further harm, causing a gruesome outcome. On a different note, Lorian parks her car one afternoon, unaware that Sheriff Maddox is covertly photographing her on her way to the grocery store. As she returns, an unexpected van halts abruptly, and masked men forcibly abduct her. Maddox trails them, while an observer watches the events unfold from surveillance footage at a grand mansion. In another setting, a man named Heinrich directs a blind woman during a photo shoot, commanding her to fulfill her partner's desires obediently. Later, the woman is taken away in a black van. Meanwhile, Lorian regains consciousness, only to find herself blindfolded and restrained. Misha arrives, brandishing a syringe, and advises Lorian not to resist. In a tense exchange, Lorian queries about other potential victims in the vicinity, but Misha cryptically alludes to a cost for everything beautiful before sedating her. During a conversation with Heinrich, Misha is reprimanded for interfering with their merchandise's value by testing it herself. The couple's relationship strains as Heinrich highlights Misha's neglect of her own appearance compared to her focus on enhancing others. He inhales a substance called aquavelva, which elevates his mood, leading to him enthusiastically speaking about an upcoming revelation. As night falls, Lorian manages to free herself and explores the surroundings, encountering a room with a bleached blonde girl who greets her with an eerie smile. Uneasy, Lorian retreats and attempts to escape through a window, injuring herself in the process. The couple swiftly apprehends her, assuring her they won't kill her. Heinrich admires Lorian's beauty, triggering jealousy in his wife Misha. As they tend to Lorian's injuries, Misha warns of impending consequences for her actions. Lorian accuses Misha of being involved in trafficking women, but Misha frames it as a pursuit of creating beauty. Misha emphasizes obedience over curiosity as she departs, leaving Lorian trapped and despondent. Later that night, Lorian awakens to find Charlotte atop her. After a brief interaction, Charlotte eludes Lorian's pursuit, disappearing from sight. Meanwhile, the couple immerses themselves in hallucinations brought on by their mind-altering substance. Heinrich inhales the substance and experiences vivid hallucinations, encountering a clown-like face hovering before him. He engages in a dialogue with this hallucinatory entity, asserting his determination to achieve his goals. The entity accuses Heinrich of consuming from a metaphorical tree, implying a transformation into one of them. Heinrich remains resolute in his quest for success. Subsequently, Misha joins him, and they're getting closer, albeit with Heinrich's detached gaze fixed on the ceiling. The next day, Lorian awakens to discover that one of she doesn't have a finger. Charlotte ominously approaches, emphasizing that her fate rests in Heinrich's hands, determining whether she lives or becomes merchandise for sale. Despite this ominous reality, Charlotte praises Lorian for her deviation from the norm and suggests reading the Bible as a means of guidance. Tearfully, Lorian declines, attempting to secure the car keys from Charlotte, who cryptically alludes to external control. Misha intervenes, subjecting Charlotte to punishment and confinement in the barn. Charlotte taunts Misha, insinuating that Heinrich desires her more than his wife. This accusation sparks an argument between them, during which Charlotte suggests that a mysterious legion is tracking Misha's transformation into one of them. Amidst these dynamics, Misha warns Lorian of the consequences of disobedience and presents her with an ultimatum. Lorian employs manipulation by pretending to admire Heinrich and appeals to Misha's desire to protect the merchandise. Sheriff Maddox arrives, seeking more products from Heinrich, who explains the unpredictable nature of the process. Maddox offers a gift of aquavelva and covertly visits Lorian, exploiting her vulnerability before abruptly leaving. The couple announces Lorian's transformation, sedating her in a laboratory setting. Lorian becomes surrounded by 5 enigmatic individuals, and Heinrich administers a mind-expanding substance. He exposes her to stimuli, inducing mind control through suggestive videos. Lorian succumbs to the influence, dancing uncontrollably until Misha intervenes. After a confrontation, Heinrich commands Lorian's self-touching, which triggers a violent response from Misha due to jealousy. Heinrich experiences hallucinations of a woman urging compliance with their unknown directives, grounded in the fear of repercussions. In reality, the woman's presence is reduced to a lifeless form in his room. Meanwhile, Charlotte engages in a conversation with an entity she refers to as the power within the barn. She seeks the entity's dominion over her, and it enters her being. The following day, Maddox arrives to deliver a new Sophia doll to a client, commending Heinrich for his exceptional creations. Heinrich explains that prices will increase due to rising costs. Maddox remarks on Heinrich's reduced production output, hinting that the influence of Aquavelva clouds his judgment. In her room, Lorian sleeps as Charlotte initiates a dialogue, inquiring about Lorian's life. Charlotte proposes a mutual alliance, prompting Lorian to confide in her. Charlotte reveals that Heinrich is under the sway of the entity's control. Although Lorian holds on to the belief that Heinrich loves her, seeking friendship, Lorian questions Charlotte, but Charlotte's responses unveil her as a transient hallucination. Lorian explores a Bible and uncovers a nail file for later use. During an electrotherapy session, both Lorian and Charlotte undergo the same electric shocks. In a dreamlike state, Lorian envisions Charlotte cautioning her against following the entity's directives. As doubt creeps in, Lorian re-evaluates her past life, deeming it illusory and manipulable. She envisions herself free from injury, cruising a highway and encountering an alternate version of herself, recording her past life's routine, a life revolving around work, a boyfriend, and leisure activities. Seeking acceptance, Lorian discovers a group of masked figures who, to her horror, turn out to be lifeless women. Among them, she encounters her own deceased body, prompting her to don a mask and infiltrate a laboratory. Heinrich discusses a perfected technique for creating Sophia dolls with Misha, emphasizing its development over 2 decades. In Lorian's internal landscape, she perceives the entity referring to her as Legion, while the couple with sadistic tendencies observes her. Lorian maintains a resolve, foreseeing their eventual downfall. Upon waking, Heinrich believes they're poised for a grand climax. Misha expresses concern about Lorian's potential failure, driven by her fear of death. Heinrich reveals self-inflicted cuts on Misha's arms, highlighting the gravity of their situation. One day in the field, Heinrich tests Sophia, which is the name they now use for Lorian. Following his command, Sophia complies, effectively passing the test. On the same day, Heinrich evaluates Sophia's sensual abilities, and they're getting closer. Misha is watching them through the security cameras and reacts furiously, harming herself as she watches. Later, during dinner, Heinrich declares that Sophia is not a true Sophia doll due to her uniqueness. Despite this unsettling statement, Charlotte flirts with Heinrich, evoking jealousy from Misha. Charlotte's behavior escalates, and she hints that their clients manipulate the couple just as they manipulate the dolls. She reveals her intention to leave with Sophia and demands the car keys. Charlotte resorts to violence, injuring Heinrich and Misha before escaping with Sophia. As they flee, Heinrich shoots at them, resulting in a confrontation between Misha and Charlotte. Ultimately, Charlotte is subdued, and Heinrich pursues Sophia. Meanwhile, 2 women in a van approach Sophia but leave upon seeing a police car approaching. Back at the house, Sophia wakes up screaming as Misha inflicts harm on her foot. The following morning, Heinrich and Misha discuss financial concerns and their deteriorating situation. Misha questions Heinrich's love for her, and he reminds her of their shared history. Heinrich's inhalation of Aquavelva prompts Misha to express her despair over their circumstances. Heinrich orders her to bleach Sophia completely and dismisses her concerns about his health. Misha is instructed to repair Sophia's foot. As he does so, he insists on the future they have chosen. Later, as Misha prepares Sophia for electrotherapy, Sophia engages in an internal conversation with Charlotte. Charlotte warns her that the couple intends to eliminate her. Sophia questions Charlotte's motives, and Charlotte explains that cooperation is necessary for her own survival. After undergoing electrotherapy, Sophia's thoughts turn to vivid imagery, various unsettling scenarios. Amidst these experiences, Sophia contemplates her existence as a clone and her perception that the world is a simulated reality. With these thoughts in mind, she begins to define her own path. Later, Lorian wakes up to Heinrich's proclamation that she's their greatest creation due to her unquestioning compliance. That night, Heinrich uses Aquavelva, summoning an entity before him. Frustrated by his perceived lack of credit, Heinrich smashes their dollhouse. Meanwhile, Misha contacts Maddox, who reveals that the clients were exploiting them as part of an experiment to perfect Aquavelva using data from the Sophias. He instructs Misha to eliminate Lorien while he deals with Heinrich. Charlotte advises Heinrich to release Lorien if he wants to survive, asserting that the clients chose the wrong girl. Heinrich remains adamant about his intentions. Misha forces herself onto Lorien to assert dominance, leading to Lorien discovering Misha's male genitalia. In a bold move, Lorien stabs Misha with a nail file, prompting a chase. Lorien hides in a room with mannequins, followed by Misha with a gun. Heinrich, alerted by gunshot, rushes back. Lorien finds a gun but is confronted by an entity, leading to her getting shot. Despite her injuries, Lorien escapes, pursued by Maddox in his car. She disappears suddenly, and as Maddox investigates, Lorien attacks him from behind, biting his ear off. A confrontation ensues, with Lorien eventually using the car to overpower Maddox. Back at the house, Misha staples skin onto Heinrich's face to cover his wound. The couple is interrupted by a knock on the door, revealing Maddox's body. Armed and determined, they hunt for Lorien in the field. Lorien manages to shoot Heinrich and, despite being pursued into the barn, shoots him again. Despite being wounded, Heinrich relentlessly pursues her, leading to a final showdown. After a series of events, Lorien fatally shoots Heinrich. Charlotte arrives, revealing her true intentions. She apologizes before eliminates her brother. Lorien confronts Charlotte, who reveals herself as the true mastermind. In a climactic struggle, Lorien defeats Charlotte using a drill, escaping her clutches. As dawn reeks, Lorien walks away from the harrowing ordeal, forever marked by the traumas she endured. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen, and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.